Hey guys, Kyle the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for My Hero Academia Season 4, Episode 24. So, obviously, the big thing with this episode is that one of the big focal points of it, at least in the first chunk, is the hero billboard charts and where everyone is ranked and whatnot now. And through that, we also learned that Endeavor has been officially appointed as the new number one hero, and we also get introduced to the newest number two hero, Hawks. And I'll be honest, when I was first introduced to Hawks, I thought he was okay. I mean, I didn't necessarily hate him, but he didn't immediately grab me either. And I think large part of that was because I saw Hawks when he was first introduced. I kind of just saw Hawks as a little more than a plot device in order to help further like the character development for Promotion Endeavor. But looking back now, oh boy, I couldn't have been more wrong. Because as of the recording of this video, Hawks has become one of the most intriguing focal points of the series thus far, and of the story thus far. There are legitimate moments in terms of Hawks's character where for as much as I love Izuku and Bakugo's development and whatnot, and all the main cast of characters development, it's like, why couldn't we have this kind of development like going towards Izuku or something like that? Like, again, I like Izuku's development fine, and it works within the bounds of him being a student and whatnot, so it works in that sense. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, this is the kind of development I almost kind of wanted. I almost want this is the kind of development I almost want to see from like our student characters like Izuku, Bakugo, any of them. Like, why aren't we getting this kind of development? Like, it again, the development for the students is fine, but it's like, why isn't this the kind of development we're getting for like Izuku and whatnot? Like, again, I'm again like it's just that it's just the development itself on Hawks is so good, honestly, going forward. And I'm trying to just say it without giving anything away. But I guess moving a step backwards, let's talk about the hero charts and Hawks' little speech, because in many respects, Hawks pretty much said the quiet part out loud with what he was talking about. Like, at this, like Hawks said it himself. At this point in time, ceremonies like that and awarding numbers to heroes is pretty much pointless. What the public is looking for now is whether or not these heroes can actually protect the people from the growing insurgent threat of villains, and in general give them a sense of safety again. And of course, part of that not only includes who's going to lead the way, going forward, but also whether or not the heroes themselves are, like, the heroes as a whole are willing to are who are content with their position, have the will and strength necessary to step up and respond to the fears of the people, rather than relying on that single person who's higher ranked than they are, or even just making excuses for their weakness. Like, the heroes at this point in general, it doesn't matter what rank they are, they need to step up and they need to become, like, honestly, actual heroes, and really kind of and really show the populace really show that the populace can in fact trust them with their safety. Otherwise, it's it's weird to say, but in a single speech, Hawks kind of exposed the biggest problem with All Might's tenure as a symbol of peace, which is that, again, like, All Might, All Might was the centerpiece, and everyone rallied around him, which was good. But the heroes themselves, they were always pining for All Might's seat, to the point where they never really, like, asked the question of what they should do in order to get there, and how the heroes how they should develop themselves. So with All Might out of picture, this actually does it's finally being addressed that the heroes, they need to grow stronger. They need to become more aware and do soul searching for what they need to do in order to make sure that the people feel safe. Um, Of course, the episode itself also had a lot of nice little moments, like from seeing Kota and the Pussycat skin was not only fun, but just in the simple gesture of seeing Kota wearing like similar shoes as Izuku shows how far he's come and how much impact Izuku has already had, even just on a single person. Of course, with the reintroduction of the Pussycats, we also learned that the only way to get a quirk back from All for One, he has to return it himself. So that opens the idea of Ragdoll's quirk, of how Ragdoll's quirk can be returned to her, but as well as many other people who've lost their quirk. But the method and how to go about doing it is something else entirely. Because obviously, like they're not willing in order to let All for One free, in order well, pretty much just to return a single person's quirk. But it now opens up the idea of trying to find alternate route in order to get those quirks back, still possibly through basically All for One, just in a way that's basically that doesn't require like setting him free or something like that, or allowing him to use his quirk on anyone who's lost their quirk to him. Um, and 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 so as per usual, I gotta talk adaptation pacing, because the thing with this episode is it adapted a lot more than I thought it would, and initially my thought process was the season would end on chapter 190, on 90, but after this episode, we could very well be going all the way to the end of this arc, if not the near end of it, because watching this episode made me realize how much I underestimated the pace at which things happen in this part of the story. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was still pretty much on point with basically 3 chapters being adapted in this episode, but from here, like the pace is really going to like speed up, and it's going to be put on like the pacing is going to go like pretty much snap 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 like that fast. So it almost makes me wonder if the pace if we're gonna go all the way to the end of this arc or something like that. I mean, and and the other thing that makes me is that I've heard rumors, I guess, that the next episode is going to be like an hour long. I don't know how true that is, but we'll have to wait and see. But in either case, it should be interesting to for sure as to where this one as to where next week's finale is going to end, because yeah, I thought I knew where it was going to end, but at this point I'm not so sure either. Yeah, it's I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. Um, um, One thing with this episode is we get development for Endeavor and characterization on Hawks, in the sense where we see that with Endeavor, he's starting to realize that in order to move forward as number one, he definitely needs to change the perception people have of him and make sure he's not only gained their trust enough in order to the point where he kicks the habit of being just this pretty much brooding loner who basically tells people to piss off, but that in general he can be someone that they can look to for help and inspire them. Like for as many faults that were exposed about All Might's tenure as the symbol of peace and the number one hero, there's no denying he at least inspired people, and he gave people a reason to hope, and just in general he gave them he was the kind of person that people could look up to. But with Endeavor, it's a little harder, and he does need to find a way in order to kick that and become that kind of hero without obviously becoming a full-on copy of All Might either. So yeah, interesting little there. But with Hawks, again, as I said, we get a little characterization on Hawks, and with Hawks, we learn a lot about his ideology in this episode, and how he believes that whether you're a regular citizen or a hero, you should be allowed to live in a world like basically that's peaceful and free of fear. Like at the core of at the core of at the core of at the core of Hawks's beliefs is peace. He wants just to live in a world where obviously there's still going to be still going to be villains probably, but more the kind of villains you can just kind of deal more just the kind like from straight like your average street criminals, not the kind of criminals that would want to take over the world or take over or destroy the world that and take over or reshape the world in their own image. He's hoping to live in a world that where at best the only crimes committed are those on a street level at best. Um, and and until then, but until then and until that can be achieved, he believes that no matter what you do as a hero, your first priority always needs to be making the people feel safe. And it was something shown through his actions in this episode and how through the smallest of gestures he was connecting with people and putting their lives before his own. So and it's just through that as well that we see that a large and it's through what he said, what Hawks says, and what he does. We see that a large part of what is creating the current climate of villainy, in contrast, is basically pretty much is fear of this current world and is this current world in itself as it exists now, and people's current growing fear in itself. Like the people's fear is what's creating villainy. Like villainy is born from basically people's fears of what the world is becoming, and those fears are how people are, like the citizens themselves are becoming villains. So it's it's allowing villains to thrive because of that. So in some ways you could say that. So in some ways, just based off what Hawks believes and what he does, you could say that Hawks' ideals represent weirdly Naruto's a lot of what was driving Naruto's desire for peace, but in this sense, without it being, dare I say, bogged down but by the whole thing of the chosen one. It's an ideology where he just wants to live a very peaceful, normal life. That's basically all that's driving him. And so it's interesting, and it's an ideology that in itself also provides a clue as to who Hawks is as a character. So yeah. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and list your Crunchyroll. Dead Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.